Hi guys, welcome back to Afrocast, Afro Nation in Isolation, and we got another episode for you. We have a familiar face in Amanda and a new guest coming up. We have Kayla. Kayla, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
So,
thank you for having me.
No worries, it's all good. We all have creators here. In terms like we know you have a podcast as well. Would you like to tell us about the podcast and how you came about creating that podcast?
All right, so I have a podcast that I co-host with my friend Charlene. It is called SK Business Academy. We're basically just kind of documenting our ups and downs with starting our own business. So it's basically just us telling everyone who will listen what's going on, how we're dealing with it, like from customer service to speaking to vendors, sourcing vendors, finding out what you need to do to start your business plans, accounting, everything.
So you say that's kind of like the aim of the podcast, unless there is actually something else you're trying to achieve with this podcast. Are you just trying to learn, or you're trying to also teach others from your experiences?
Well, along the way, I'm hoping that we can get to the point where we're teaching. Right now, we're just sharing our experiences, but in time, I'm hoping that we can get to a point where we can help others, because we do have a website, skbusinessacademy.com, where we have vendor lists and consultations. And I'm going to be going to school for business analytics. So I'm hoping that we can get to a point where we can have like good consultations with like high quality information.
Okay.
That we can give to others.
Okay, that sounds decent. That sounds really good. With that, I would ask again, really is what would you say is like your particular target audience? Is it really like young people trying to start a business like yourself, or everyone in general looking for business advice right now?
It's only a select few of the episodes would be for people who are looking for business advice, but for right now, it's for young people who are starting a business.
Oh, really? I don't know, with the whole starting a business thing, sometimes it really inspires me to go into more depth with the whole business levels and everything, but then at a point it kind of raises questions in my mind, like, is it really the best time, or what is really the best time to start a business? Like, anyone can start a business from whatever it is, from selling small goods really, but then if you're looking to build a business from the ground up, like the foundation, would you really see the best time to do that at a young age, or would you think it's better to focus on more like education, or balance it really?
Well, honestly, for me, I don't really think that there's a perfect time to start a business. I feel like you have to want it, you have to know what you want and be willing to take on the risk, because it is a risk. It is a whole risk.
It's a big risk.
There's nothing simple about this. And I think some people are under the impression that, oh, I'm gonna start this and I can go off of what I see on the internet and I'll have a successful business, not realizing that there's a lot of failures that come with starting a business. Like, you can't escape it. You are going to fail at some point. Sometimes you're going to fail a lot, but you just have to persevere and continue to push and just take on failures. Just take them head on.
Oh, I like that. I can see, Amanda, you're being bare quiet right now. Like, this isn't your area of expertise. Now, for any of you that don't know, for any of you that don't know, Amanda has a podcast. If I tell you podcast, and the positive vibes that she spreads on that podcast is on a different level. So, Amanda, can you just, like, you told them before, but can you tell them again, like, really what your whole podcast is about, just to keep you in the talking mood?
Yeah, my podcast is really just a look at adulting, that whole process of coming into yourself, accepting who you are, all the lessons that we carry and the things that we learn along the way, and just all that stuff. I'm mostly here just supporting my friend. Like, look at her. Oh, I've always kind of listened to her give this kind of advice. I mean, from the beginning when we were in high school and we were doing entrepreneurship together. It was a class that we did for, I think it was grade 12. Yeah, and then we did POB, yeah, Principles of Business together. So I've been listening to her since the very beginning. And I said on the last episode of this podcast that I did a business a little bit in high school, and she was the spearheader of this business that I did. I mean,
Okay, okay. No, I mean
fucking money
that's really
collector. She helped me price, brand recognition, all that stuff. Like,
no, that's really good. That's really good in the sense that like the two of you both have podcasts with two different ideas in a sense. So with the If I Tell You podcast, I have listened and been on the If I Tell You podcast. Although the end being not as satisfying as Amanda probably wanted. But that's not the important thing. What I'm trying to say is you both have two different podcasts where you're able to speak on two different things, but they both play really they all play really important parts really. Before you can actually start a business, you have to be mentally stable. I think I'm correct. And then when you want to start a business, it's always good to have steady business advice you can get from. So it's something that works hand in hand with the If I Tell You podcast and Kayla's podcast in a sense. So you guys are actually still working together, even though it's indirectly, if you get what I'm saying.
And stop won't stop.
never will stop. Like,
That's adorable. Oh, so Kayla, tell us about your business. Tell us about the business you're into.
Okay, so my business, my little business, it is Lashed by KGS. You can find it on all social media platforms except
That's by
Twitter.
KGS. Okay.
So it's basically a cosmetics business. Yes. Don't ask what the KGS is, but it's Lashed by KGS.
I'm
So
curious, but I wanna...
it's a cosmetics business where you ain't gonna ask. It's okay. I'm not gonna put my government on this podcast.
It's just her full government, but like
I'm not putting my government on the podcast. It ain't gonna be out there. I'm sorry. Anyways, so it's a cosmetics business, and so far it has eyelash extensions, and I want to branch out into lip products, eyelash extension technician products, because I have started doing that, but on a really small scale, which is basically just in town, so it's for pickup. And I also want to branch off into nails, but I feel like I have to get a little bit of education on that, so I'm working on it.
Okay. When did you actually start, or when did the idea for this business come up? Because I mean, you could have started at any time, but the idea is what really counts. So when did that idea form in your mind?
So for me, I went and did a eyelash extension certificate last year, May, and I was doing the eyelash extensions, and I'm just like, okay, this is making some money, but it's taking a physical toll on me because I have to keep like bending and doing all of these different things that just messing up my scoliosis. And I was like, all right, let me see if I can find a way to capitalize on this certification in ways that people are still going to want, because I know people like getting eyelash extensions. It's all the trend right now, but it's not really something that is sustainable for long periods of time, because eyelash extensions are not cheap. They're like $100, $120, depending on what you're getting. And I wanted something that people could use multiple times. Like, you can wash it off, use it again. just glue it on everything. So eyelash extensions, strip lashes is what I was thinking about. But the thought hadn't occurred to me. I started researching it, and with research for a business comes doubt. And I was just like, okay, are people actually going to want this? What am I going to do? How am I going to market it? So I took some time and formulated a business plan. And I was like, all right, I'll start by next year. And then COVID hit. And I was like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And then I started researching like shipping prices, etc. And I'm like, okay, this is still feasible to start off on a small scale this year. So I started it in June on a very, very small scale this year. And I'm hoping to expand it as the months go by. Hopefully, COVID willing, it will expand bigger than I expect. But I mean, I have small expectations as of right now.
Awesome. Well, firstly, the idea is it's really good to have like an idea from the beginning, although that you hit that roadblock. I mean, everybody hit that roadblock once COVID came up and the isolation came in. But the good thing is that you had the opportunity to keep going with it. And also don't always have like small expectations for yourself. If you keep having small expectations, it's just going to be fluctuating up and down really on how you want to progress with it. But I like the idea. I also wanted to know, like, why are eyelash extensions so expensive? Like, I just don't understand. Yeah.
You want to know why it's so expensive? Yeah. I know why it's so expensive, because it is a labor. You're paying for the labor, okay? You have to individually glue on the lashes to each eyelash, and each person has like 50 to 100 lashes on each eye. So, stress. Okay? You're paying for the stress.
So how much do you think you're gonna charge for your eyelash extensions? The same $100, or you start small?
No, for my strip lashes, I charge $15 Canadian, but for eyelash extensions, I charge anywhere between $80 to $150 Canadian.
That's money, you know.
Raw. So that's like £3.
I might as well. That's like what? That's what?
That's like £2. I don't know the conversion.
No, it can't be like £2. I mean, like, I'm gonna get my sister to do like, raw fam. You're gonna go do some eyelash extensions, you know, man. You can get like 80p, you know, because like £80 raw. That's food for 7 weeks. But that's crazy though. I never actually expected it to be that expensive, because I mean, my sister does makeup, but I am not 100% interested in everything she does. I kind of like see what she does because I'm forced to do it. It's kind of like she literally puts the makeup in my face, innit? So there's a sense where she's doing the makeup, but she wants me to know that she's doing the makeup so that she wants me to cuss her out. But once I cuss her out, like, it's always a problem. She's always there looking for me to cuss her out or something, but then it causes a problem. So I just like, you know what? Yeah, keep your makeup thing to yourself. Do it in another room. When you're done, come show me, innit? I don't have your time or your strength. But it's really good. Besides all that, it's really good that you have a business that you're trying to bring up. But sometimes businesses, you have times where you feel like this business is not working out. Have you been investing? Because that's a lot of things. That's a big thing people like to do. They begin to invest for a business they have not started. And do you think that's a good idea? Really, if you want to start a business, it's always good to invest. I mean, investing is a good thing to do, but when do you start investing?
I think for me, the best advice that I can give is, if you want to start a business, you need to do a business plan. So with your business plan, you'll know kind of the general idea of where you're going to go, and do a general balance sheet. I don't really want to get in like technical terms because I'm going to have to explain everything. But if you want explanations, you can go and listen to my podcast. But you start with a business plan and you kind of map out, okay, what is it that I'm going to need? How much is it going to cost? And make sure that you calculate shipping into all of this, because shipping during Corona is completely different from shipping pre-Corona. It is expensive. It is extremely expensive. I know for me, I'll be going to buy something and it would be like $25 for the product and $75 for the shipping. I'm like, no, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. But you're gonna have to pay it because they're point. So you really have to go and say, all right, I'm gonna be paying this much for marketing, this much for my product, this much for shipping, this much for customs. This is how much I'm gonna need, and then you start from that and save.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I was just thinking, yeah, like when you're putting these lash extensions, have you ever, like, whenever you're doing your work, yeah, have you ever done it for a person and they're just like kind of like they're flinching and they're blinking their eyes and they just piss you off to the point that you can't do the eye extensions or whatever?
Okay, she's probably going to kill me for this, but my mother is very afraid of her eyes. And when I was doing eyelash extensions on her for my test, she kept like blinking all the time. And her eyes kept watering, and it was so difficult. But you really just have to push through it, because if they're paying you like $80, $90, $100 to do their lashes, you're gonna have to do the lashes.
But
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They're paying you their hard.
No. But hear me out. It's like they're not paying you to go through that stress of them watering their eyes and blinking. I thought, fam, if I was doing eyelashes and someone is there blinking, and I was like, bruv, chill, man. Let me do your eyelashes. You want to cry about it? Still, it's kind of like a mad thing, because it says that you're just there and the person's blinking. It's like blinking. I'm just like, bruv, I'm gonna poke your eye and you give you something to actually blink about, because still, I just don't have the level of patience, because the way you explained it, one eyelash.
That's why Leo doesn't do lashes.
Thank you.
That's why Leo doesn't do lashes. Like, bro, if I was, imagine me, a hench guy doing lashes still, and I'm there with the, I don't even know how you do it. How do you apply the lashes?
You have to get the individual lash, so it depends. If you're doing a classic, it is like one lash. If you're doing like volume, you can do from 3 to 5 lashes, and it depends. If you're doing 3D volume, each lash is gonna have 3 lashes on it. If you're doing 4D, 4, 5D, 5. So it really just depends on what
All I hear is mathematics.
your customer wants. If you're doing hybrid, it's a mix of volume and classic. So
I don't understand.
yeah,
All I hear is mathematics, man. I'm just. What? What's that? I'd say like 3D volume. You're doing eyelashes. There's not a difficult. It sounds so complex. Like, I can't fathom.
It ranges from classy girl to like fancy girl to like blink and then hurricane.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair enough. I did not pick that.
That's the scale.
I did not pick that at all. I didn't pick that in any way possible. But it's good to know that in most senses, really, everything's all business. Everything is all business. It doesn't really matter what kind of business you do. In terms of business, really, like, sometimes you actually have to go through a small scale business, like something like from selling. We used to do these things in school, where like you get your pocket money. But sometimes the guys that don't have enough pocket money, so they're trying to buy and sell for a higher price. So we had these biscuits, these biscuits you get for during break time, and it was like these guys were proper drug dealers at that time. They'd come with their jackets and everything. They got the they got the crackers and the biscuits and the cheese in the bags and stuff, and they're literally just waiting for someone to come down there and ask them if they have the crackers or the biscuits or whatever. So it's like, oh yeah, how much, and you're actually wondering how much the person's gonna price. Yeah, so Mind you, this is back like in Nigeria. So I'm just gonna give an explanation. I'm gonna give an example. So let's say you bought the crackers for 15 naira. 15 naira, that's not a lot. But then you're selling the biscuits for 30 naira. So it's like a 15 naira profit. And like for someone that's 13 years old that's not meant to have money in school, yeah, it's kind of a madness still. That's the only small scale of business that I could ever remember, because I got cheated bare times. I got cheated so many times. Like I can't imagine. I can't even fathom it, because it's crazy how people turn businesses into small scale crimes. Like, oh, but I was going besides the point.
Crimes.
Right.
Fuck, you don't know how many times man got cheated in school. Like, it was a level at which people,
Got finessed.
yeah,
Mm.
man got finessed in a way that you would never actually imagine. Like, it was literally get finessed or finesse. You finesse or you get finessed. But in businesses, you obviously have the self-employed. You have the self-employed individuals, and then you have the entrepreneurs. At first, I thought they were the same thing. I actually thought entrepreneurs and self-employed individuals were the same. But with entrepreneurs, they have this level of ideas that they want to use to create something, and they're ready to risk a particular amount of money. They're ready to risk putting a particular amount of money into that idea and turn it into a business. But then with being self-employed, you have an idea, you start a business, and you go through the whole process. I would not see myself as an entrepreneur, because I still don't know the definition of an entrepreneur. But as for you and Amanda, would you guys actually see yourself as entrepreneurs or self-employed individuals to a particular level?
I am a
Yes.
corporate slave. I do as capitalism expects me to do. My podcast, I have yet to monetize it at this point, and as much as Kayla is upset by that, I don't think I will for a little while, because I think I like what I'm doing right now. So I don't
Okay.
consider myself ready to venture into entrepreneurship. Not at this point. I mean, I have no choice given my friend, but not at this moment, no. Don't look like that.
Well, everything I do is monetized. So every time I come out to the house, I'm more than likely making money. And I'm really not interested in leaving the comfort of my home without any monetary gain. So there's that. I really, really appreciate, jingles in my pocket, as some may say. So that's a me thing though. That is definitely a me thing. I have a lot of things happening right now that I'm working on. Whatever isn't making money is going to make money in the future. So yeah, that's a me thing. I'm not just sitting here doing stuff for free unless it's like charity.
Do you have like a level? Do you have like a way to balance? How do you balance your business plans and your ideas for businesses? Because I mean, when you're doing that, it does kind of get stressful, and there is that struggle with balancing it. So how do you kind of plan and put together your investments, your business ideas, and kind of balancing it with school as well?
Okay, so I have a very, very good mantra, and that is time management and self control. And
Oh
if you
no.
ask anybody who is friends with me, they know that I'm very good at time management. So I will be up there, you'll see me on the calendar on my phone, and it's just like, okay, I have to do this at this time, and this at this time, and this at this time. I'm not going to be scheduling two things at the same time. And I'm going to have like the least half an hour between each thing, because I don't live in a very big town, so it doesn't take that long to get anywhere. So if I'm going to film, I'll go to my friend's house, which is 5 minutes away from mine, and then if I need to do something else after that, then I'll make sure I'm just like, okay, this is the time that I told you that I'm leaving. This is the time I'm leaving. Do not make me late, or I'm going to get upset. So I'm gonna leave, and then I'm gonna go to my next appointment. And I usually get there early, probably 5 minutes. But 5 minutes early is still late for me. So I have issues with being late, and like, no, it's a hard pass for me. I have to manage my time efficiently if I'm going to be getting these things off the ground. And for the investment side, I have like 5 different savings accounts, and they're all labeled for different things. So yeah, that's how the investments go.
Bro, like man hasn't even like
Yeah.
planned his own level, his own. I don't know 2 plus 2 yet. Like compared to what you're doing, like that's mad.
Oh God.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, I like the way you balance the way you've worked everything with time management. If you have this, you're doing that. If you're doing A, you're not doing Z. So that makes a lot of sense. But you can't tell me like everything. None of it has gone peachy. Like none of it has actually gone as smooth as you're explaining it. So you've obviously had some hard times. When have you tried to create something or go about something with your business and it did not work out?
Well, most of the time, it's kind of just getting the stock here. Because, okay, with a business, I personally believe that I'm not going to start my business and be living in my car. So I have to be managing my finances as well as starting up this business. So I do have to give up getting as much stock as I would want to get to pay bills.
Okay.
Because I'm not about to be like, all right, let me buy like 100 different lashes in each style and not pay my rent. Because where am I going to put these lashes? Nowhere. So yeah, no, I have to give up certain things. You have to
100
sacrifice certain things in
lashes,
business. And I personally think I have 12 different styles actually. And yeah, I'm not buying 100 of each of them because that is expensive. So what I get is what I get.
enough. But like I can't really imagine if I was to start a business. If okay, give me some advice. If I was to start a business, how would I go about it? Now let's say this is a studio production. You want to start a studio production, how would I actually, before I know I should check out on your podcast, just but give me a brief summary of what I should do.
Okay, a brief summary from my perspective. If you're going to start like a studio production, I would get a ledger and I would put in, okay, how much is studio time going to cost? If you're going to rent or buy a studio, then you definitely need to look at, if you're renting, you need to look at lease. If you're buying, you need to look at mortgage. So you need to look for that for the studio. So you secure a space and then you look for all of the equipment that you're going to need for the studio. So you purchase all of that equipment if you have the money. If not, you check on if the equipment has payment plans. And if you're comfortable with getting a payment plan, you need to think about how that's going to affect your credit.
Hmm. This is a TED
So
talk,
you
you
need
know.
to make sure that you make your payments and get your get your get your equipment. And when you have all of your equipment and your studio space, then you need to plan out your episodes. So you need to plan out what you're doing, figure it out. If you're gonna get a guest, you need to get a guest. And when you get a guest for that specific episode, get a backup guest just in case that guest drops out. And then you figure it out from there. That's basically it.
Okay. Okay. Mad, you
For like viewings.
got it sorted out. Bro. Oof.
Yeah, that's what I would tell you. So
On the emotional side of that, I feel like I've contributed so little to this discussion. I'm learning just as much as you, Leo. Like, I'm enjoying this.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I'm really enjoying it. I like how it's playing out and everything. I like how I'm being taught to everything. That's literally the main goal of this podcast for me as the host. As the host of this podcast, every discussion I'm bringing up, I know very little about it. Of course, it can be a really risky thing to do, but then like in some conversations I have with the guests, I've done my research. I've done my research in terms of what I'm going to discuss, in terms of what I'm going to reply with, or what I want to learn about. I just like to hear it from another person, get another person's perspective. 1, 2, 3 people, get their perspective, see how they agree or disagree with particular things, see their opinions on those kind of things, and it makes it so wholesome. It makes it so wholesome. It's one of the main reasons why I decided to do a podcast. With that, I really want to know why you guys actually started your podcasts and your end goals for those podcasts.
you first.
I'll let you go first.
No, you
No, I'll
go
let you
first.
go first. No, I'll let you
You
go
haven't
first.
been talking, so you can go first.
Oh man.
I said I've been learning. I've been having a good time. Like, I don't know if I even have an end goal. Again, and everything, I'm just kind of, I'm the opposite of Kayla. That is one thing I mentioned on my podcast, my first episode with her. I am not as decisive or as planned or yeah, my goal for my podcast was really just to have a space, just to create that safe space to have the important talks and let people know that you're 20 but you're not alone. We're all going through it, we're all trying to understand it, and here's a space that can help you, I guess, put into words what you're feeling.
All right, you done? All right. So
Yeah.
for my podcast, I feel like Charlene and I sat down and we talked about it. Like, okay, we're starting off these businesses. How are we going to tell other people who might want to start their own business but have absolutely no idea where to start it? How are we going to help them? So we decided that the best way to broadcast that information was through a podcast. And I feel like the end goal for us would be just getting the information out there, getting people to be like, all right, this is where we can come to learn about how we start a business. This is where we can come to listen and laugh, because it's not like a serious high-strung podcast, because we don't know how to do that. We're laughing during the whole podcast, but we're giving you information that we found out. So we're researching things, coming up with things. If you go on the YouTube for the podcast, you'll see us I'll have my phone and I'll be out there okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm researching this, researching that. I'll have the book where I research beforehand and write stuff down. If I don't know something Charlene is saying, I'll go and look it up. And it's honestly just learning and giggles, to be honest. And I wanted to go into more of a consulting direction. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that progresses, especially with the educational side. So, yeah.
I really like that because it's actually quite similar, both of your podcasts, really, because you're giving the viewers a space where they can learn about something they probably weren't able to in the past. With Amanda's podcast, there's a safe space where you can actually learn more about yourself. in a sense. With your podcast, Kayla, you're able to learn more about your capabilities and what you're able to achieve if you kind of set the right plan for yourself. So it's literally a how-to life plan. Really, the podcast, actually, you guys have really good ideas with it, and it's something I can't wait to actually keep listening to. The viewers should actually go listen to these podcasts, because why not? Just go listen to the podcast. You don't actually need a proper reason to listen to a podcast, because it's
Podcast.
something that's able
Listen to the podcast.
Listen to the
you really need.
podcast.
Exactly. It's like something that's there to really boost your morale in a sense, because one word from these ladies, man, take it from me. I'm never doing eyelashes. Never. But I think I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna end
It's
it
okay,
there.
Leo. We
with
wouldn't want you
one.
to.
Thank you very much. With that, I'm gonna end it with one last question to Kayla. With your podcast and your business, yeah, in the next 5 years. This is something I do with all my guests. I ask them one last question, kind of like where they see themselves in the next 5-10 years with your business, the way you carry yourself and the way you propose your ideas, your business plans, how you keep your time, how you manage your time. Where do you think you'd see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, still moving with that ideology?
Okay, and I can absolutely answer that for you because I have planned this out. So, for the next 5 to 10 years, I'm planning to go to school for a multitude of things. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to pursue my master's yet, but I feel like it is definitely a high possibility. But I do have some certificates that I'd like to get after the bachelor's degree. And I would like to use that to help build a podcast, and also probably get another section of SK Business Academy where it's like more of a consulting business. So I want it to be a podcast where it has information, but I also wanted to have another side where it does consultations. So yeah, and I want to use my background for what I'm going to be studying, which is business analytics, to help build up my business, because I'd be studying like information systems and data analysis, so I can, run the business more efficiently, since essentially that's what it is, how to run a business properly. And I think I like telling people how to run their business, so I'm gonna make that a career.
So with telling people how to run a business, where does that kind of lead to? Is it like an advisor, or does it lead to kind of like a higher role in an office job, or I don't know, enlighten me.
Business analysis. So I would go in and I'd be like, okay, this is how you run this, and it would be like probably a contract.
Okay.
Because I'm not too into the whole stay in one place for long periods of time, and I also want to branch out from working for people, because as we've seen with this pandemic, you could be working somewhere for 40 years and they lay you off just like that for shortage of work, and you can't do anything about it. So I would like to have my own separate streams of income that are independent and self-sufficient. So we'll see how that goes, but it's going. We're working on it.
This is some good. That is really a well laid out plan. Amanda, I don't know, do you have any questions? Because you've been bare silent. You're just learning.
I'm just enjoying it, man. I'm just enjoying it. I always like hearing from people who are forward thinking, and Kayla has always been that way. So it's good to see her in her element doing that and expressing that.
Poor Leo.
I always find it really overwhelming because it is the opposite of my personality. But it's good to hear.
That's good. I mean, for me, it goes both ways, basically, because I have never really looked at a business from this perspective. I mean, you would learn how to plan or run a business or how to start a business, but I never really heard it from someone who has done that, is still learning about that, and already has their life laid out for them the next 5-10 years. I mean, bro, if someone asks me like, fam, where do you see yourself in the next 2 years? I'm like, bro, I'll still be thinking of what I want to do my masters. I'll be going down to some rehearsals, I don't know, podcast, but it's never really been completely laid out. But now that I've actually heard it from someone, this is something I really love to do on the podcast. I love to hear from people on how they're going to plan out particular things, how they're going to plan out particular things for themselves, and how they actually look to plan out things for other people as well. It actually pushes that movement. And as individuals, as Black individuals, I'd say it's a really good way to start something great. And big ups to Kayla, big ups to Amanda for sharing all of that with me and the viewers. So with that, I think I can call it a day. It's been a really long day. Like, fam, if you know, it's 1:16 in the morning.
You've been going.
I am exhausted, but I have enjoyed every single minute of it. So thank you once again for being on the podcast. Amanda, Kayla, check out their podcasts. Make sure to check out their podcasts and their work if you mind. If you don't mind, call out your podcasts again. Let them just know, and it will be down in the description. The lag is very
so my podcast is the If I Tell You podcast. You can find it on all podcast platforms, and Kayla's is
Business Academy.
There you have it, people.
As well, you can find it on all podcast platforms.
All podcast platforms. It's literally just there for you. It's calling your name. So like, go out for these podcasts. Be innovative. Be creative. Open your mind to more things, because just like, you can't be stuck in your own space. If you're stuck in your own space, you're never going to move, you're never going to grow, and you're never going to get good business advice. So this has been me, Leo, Afrocast. Thank you for coming down to the episode. Take care. God bless you. And we'll see you again in the next episode.